Will the Chicago Bulls look to trade up in this year's NBA draft? A recent report has said that there's a hypothetical trade where the Chicago Bulls would trade with the Houston Rockets for the third pick in this year's NBA draft. We're going to be talking about this hypothetical trade and if this is a good scenario for the Chicago Bulls. This is Rico Greenhowe, and this is another episode of Bulls Digest. And before we jump into it, want to let you know that 75.1% of you guys that watch the videos are not subscribed to the channel. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with your latest news and happenings around your Chicago Bulls. And without further ado, let's jump into the topic of the day, which is Bulls get the third pick in the 2024 draft. All right, guys, so this is a lot to unpack here. So it looks like that the Houston Rockets reportedly are looking to go ahead and shop the third pick in this year's NBA draft. And this article is suggesting that the Chicago Bulls might want to be a trade partner with the Houston Rockets to go ahead and move up in this year's NBA draft. To do so, in this article, it suggests that we would be moving Alex Caruso and our 11th pick for the third pick in this year's NBA draft. And we're also going to get a power forward and a center back in Tari Eason, guys. And so we'll go ahead and break into essentially what this article is saying. And it's saying that Houston would want to possibly do this deal because, for one, Houston is looking to get some veteran leadership here. And so I understand it in one aspect because when you look at Alex Caruso, you look at the body of work, especially this year, I think everything went up for him, and especially on the offensive end here, all right? And so for Houston, they're probably thinking, all right, we have Dylan Brooks here, but if we can get Alex Caruso over here, all right, we're getting a guy that consistently plays some good offense for us, and he's shown now that he can be a playmaker, all right? And I think he always could, but I think he's always been a focus on the defensive end. So I think for Houston, it makes a lot of sense, especially with the fact that they feel like they're really ascending into a win right now situation. I have to imagine that Houston is kind of sitting back thinking that they're the next team that can make that OKC Minnesota Timberwolves kind of jump. I think that they were right on the cusp this year from going ahead and moving into the playoffs. And I think that certainly when you look at what they're building, all right, and so I love what they have with Sagoon. I love what they have with Jabari Smith. Not necessarily sold on Jalen Smith just yet, but I think he's ascending. So you add Alex Caruso over there, I think that makes a whole bunch of sense. And I like the fact that when you look at where they would draft if we were to make the swap, I feel like that as you go later in this draft, I feel like that's where the real value is. I feel like, to me, this is that type of draft that's like a 2013 draft where you're going to find your Giannis or whatever the case may be down there in that, 16 the 13 area, somewhere in there. You're going to find that type of player. And I think that the real value maybe continues to go up as the draft continues on. All right. And so I think as you start to go down, I think that's where you start to get some really good prospects here. So, with that being said, on the Chicago Bulls front, I'm not really interested in doing so. Number one, if we were to go ahead and give up our pick for the third pick, I guess you could argue that, hey, we have just about as good a chance to get it right at 3 as we do 11. I don't think that we're going to get that right at 3. And to be honest with you, I think the further you go down in the draft, the better off chance you have in getting it right. And I mean, that's just my opinion with this draft because it's a weak class. So I think that if the Bulls were forced to pick higher, I think that they have a better chance in really probably picking a player that's not going to fit for them. Now, I know you could argue this and say, well, that's really anywhere in the draft and at any place. That's true. That's absolutely true. But I just think that the Bulls are better served staying where they are, and they have the best chance to probably get a player with a better fit there. That's just my opinion. All right, guys. So anyhow, I think that that's number one to start there. Two, if we were to make a deal with Houston and make this type of deal, we're going to give up that 11th pick because I don't believe in the third pick in the draft. there's a player that Houston would absolutely have to attach for me to make this deal happen. And that's going to be Cam Whitmore. Okay, so Cam Whitmore has to come over in this deal under all circumstances. Okay, so if I'm going to take Eason, I have to have Cam Whitmore to come over. Cam Whitmore was the guy, I think he was the Summer League MVP last season. And this guy has shown that he is absolutely a guy that can go out and get you a bucket. He is a 6'7" swingman that is terrific, playing a little bit of small forward, actually a lot of small forward and a bit of power forward as well. And I think that this is a guy essentially that hasn't even really been unlocked with what he can do potentially wise. And I just have to imagine that if we were to get a guy like Cam Whitmore over here and get him into our rotation, perhaps start, I think that this is a guy much like Sagoon over here for the Houston Rockets. I don't think he's going to turn back. I really don't think he's going to turn back. I think he's that good of a player for me, just having to look at him up close, having watched some of his games as well. I think that this is a guy that for sure Chicago would want to press to get over. All right, and this is Cam Whitmore here throwing it down on somebody. Like I said, man, this guy is super athletic. He can shoot the basketball at a high clip, guys. And look, this is what he was compared to as far as the NBA comparison. You're looking at Keldon Johnson. You're looking at Jay Crowder. You're looking at Miles Bridges. And the one thing that I love about this guy is he played for Villanova, guys. And this is a guy absolutely, looking at the Knicks, Villanova essentially is the Knicks, and this is a guy that I think he was undervalued personally in last year's draft, and I think that this guy has shown that he can play really on the big stage, all right? Because we're going to bring up his stats right now. Here's a guy that in year one, he's already at 12.3 points a game, and he's only playing 18.7 minutes per game. You'll notice that he only started in 2. He did play in 47. But guys, this is a guy that has huge, huge upside, and I would love to have this guy over here. I mean, he's already getting almost about 4 rebounds a game. I think that his assist steals can definitely come up, I think, as he starts to play a little bit more. So anyhow, guys, what do you guys think here? Should the Chicago Bulls stay at 11? Do you feel like, hey, we're going to be better served staying at 11? That's where we're going to start to get some good value, and we don't have to give up an asset in Alex Caruso. Would you like to at least see us run it back with him at least for another year before we decide to make some decisions on Alex Caruso? And then next, do you guys feel like we should make the deal with the Houston Rockets? Do you believe that, hey, we should go ahead and trade up and get the 3rd pick? You feel like whoever's at 3 is going to be a guy that can maybe change the course of the franchise, and that's just wild saying that. But let me know in the comments what you guys think, and do you feel like, a guy like Cam Whitmore is a guy that absolutely must come over in this deal? Let me know in the comments what you guys think, and as usual, even though we don't know what we're going to do, and there's a rumor now that we're looking to trade our best defender for the 3rd pick in this year's NBA draft, which is quite weak. I'm still saying go Bulls, guys. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.